Hi everybody, so this was the inspiration for the outfit I created. Now this is mine. Okay, so with mine now I had to make the neck come up a bit and also the skirt a bit longer so that I can be able to use it to church and also be able to wear it to work. So I'm going to show you guys how I did it from start to finish. So even if you want to create your own the same way you saw on the picture, I'm still going to explain it for you in this video so you can be able to do it the exact same way. So right now I already have a pattern paper I'm going to be using, and with me here is a bridal satin, doll face bridal satin fabric, but I would prefer you using a Duchess material to do this because Duchess material will have a little bit of stretch to it and to still come out looking exactly the same way this her own looked like. So for this tutorial I'm using 2 yards of this fabric and it's by 60, not by 45. So if you're using by 45, you should get like 3 yards or 3.5. So most of the pattern I'm going to be using in this video are the patterns I have already created. They're already on my channel and I've made something with this pattern before. So if you have followed my channel, then you would know this particular pattern. I used it to create a skirt pattern, so that's what I'm going to be using for this. So I already have the front and back. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's on my channel. Just go ahead and check it out. Thank you. Before you come back and watch this so you wouldn't be confused. Alright, so I'm going to be using this. Now my fabric is already on fold. So what I'm going to do is just to place the paper on top like this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and then trace it out on the fabric and I'll just cut it out. So I'm going to be doing the same thing for both the front and the back piece. And at this point now you can decide to make your skirt short just like how it was on the picture. So this is where you can actually do that. So coming to the front now, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to place the front pattern directly inside the fabric. As you can see, the fabric is already on fold. Now since you're going to be using we're going to be putting like a button cover in front here, though we're not going to be using buttons. That's why I'm leaving out these 2 inches here in front. So this portion here is literally 2 inches. Now that's where the center front is going to start from. Now I'm just going to go ahead to add like 1 inch or 1.5 inch depending on your own preference, what you would like to go for. So I ended up adding 1 inch to this, and mind you, this pattern here already has a seam allowance, so I didn't really put that seam allowance into consideration. I just went ahead to add 1 inch seam allowance again because I just wanted it to be free on my body just in case I want to use the shirt to wear a trouser. So that's what I actually did. Now on the neckline, I'm just going to go ahead to cut it like this. Now I'm just going to give a little bit of notch here so that I will be able to use it to turn around on the neckline. Don't worry, you're going to be seeing it when I start sewing. You understand everything. So at this point, what I'm just going to do is just to go ahead and then cut it out. After that, I'm going to go ahead to open the front part because this front part was on fold, so I'm just going to go ahead to cut it open. The next thing I'm going to do is to come over to the side seam, and then I'm just going to go ahead to mark 4 inches down from the side. Now I'm going to go ahead to shaping out that shirt the shirt curve. That's why I'm doing that. So I'm just going to go ahead to come in with 1/2 inch here. So that 1/2 inch now is what I'm going to use to draw the curve. So just watch how I'm going to do this. So the next thing is to work on the back, and for the back I am going to go ahead to fold in the zipper allowance on the back. Now I'm going to be cutting the back in 2 sections. We have the upper part and then the lower part for the back. So for the upper part, I'm not going to be needing this very seam allowance here, as in for the zipper allowance. So that's why I'm folding it in like this. Now once that is done, I'm going to mark 7 inches from the beginning of the shoulder down towards the chest line. That's what I'm going to be marking, 7 inches there. Now here is where the first part of the back is going to stop. Before cutting this out, you have to be sure that you're cutting this at exactly ½ inch before the line, so that you'll be able to have what you use to attach it to the second or to the lower part of the back. So for a lower part of the back, I am going to go ahead to open up the zipper allowance now. So this is going to come in handy at this point because I'm going to be using it. So I'm just going to go ahead and then open this up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and then cut it out the way it is. But before cutting it out, we are going to go ahead to add 1.5 inches seam allowance towards the sides. Alright, then we are going to go ahead and cut it out. Now this 1.5 seam allowance that we added is what we're going to bring out here. So I just dragged it out now. Now this point is now aligning with each other. So now here is the 1.5 inches that we actually inserted towards the side. That's what we have here. The excess is now here at the back. So using my basic sleeve pattern, I have already gone ahead to cut out the sleeve. Now if you haven't seen this tutorial, it's already on my channel, so you can always check it out. Now for the sleeve, I have actually reduced the length of the sleeve by 1.5 inches here. So right now this point now serves as the area that we are going to be inserting our fillet. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and measure what I have here. Now after I have measured what I have here, I'm going to fold that tape into 2 like this. Then I'll fold it again into 4. Now this is what's going to help me cut out the fillet. So now to cut out my fillet, I'm going to fold the fabric like this into 2 already. Then I'm also going to fold it again into 4. Now be sure that the different points or the different sides have actually met each other so that it can be equal. Then I'll fold it over again like this, like in a triangular shape. Now at this point, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in with my tape, and that quarter measurement I had left after I have finished folding my tape into 4, that is what I'm going to be having. So let's say I had like 3 inches. I'm going to be placing 3 inches there plus half. That's 3.5 inches. Okay, yeah, and it's going to be a bit wide once you open it up, but that's going to help you to close it up by the sides once you finish attaching it to the wrist. That's the more reason why I'm adding the ½ inch there. So we're just going to go ahead to round this out here like this, and I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. Now this is going to serve for both of the sleeves, and then both the 2 hands, the 2 sleeves, sorry, this is actually going to help. So what I have here is like, let's say 4 or 2 full round fillets. That's what I'm going to be having here once I open it up. So the next thing now is to start sewing. Now on this point here, we're going to use ½ inch to sew it down, or 0.5 inches to sew it down, but ½ inch is much preferable. Now once that is done, you're going to open up the back, the upper back like this, and you're going to turn it around. Now you're going to bring in these other parts. You're going to place them right sides facing each other. Now remember this point that we sewed, you're going to place it, you're going to press it down like this. Be sure that the right sides are facing each other, and also they are being aligned at the center of each other. Then you go ahead and then sew on it just a straight line on the ½ inch. After sewing it, it's going to look something like this. Please if you're using this, just go ahead to iron yours first, and also go ahead and then top stitch on top of it. I couldn't iron mine because there was no light. I didn't have any box iron to use. That's why mine is looking very rumpled like this. So please try and iron yours so that it can come out looking neater and better. So for the front, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fold it over towards the back area, not like this, but like this. I'm going to fold it over like this. Then we are going to sew it down around the neckline. But before we do that, we're going to fold this one 1/2 inch inwards like this before we then go ahead to sew it down here. We are going to do the same thing too on the other side. So at this point now, once you're done, you're going to go ahead to turn it over. Now once you turn it over, you're going to have something that looks like this. Now at this point now, it's going to actually give you an aid on how to sew down the rest of the front part. So just fold it in and then go ahead and then sew it down, and also do the same thing to the other part. Now here is it, how the front part is looking like so far. Now you're going to come in with the back part, and you're also going to place them shoulder right sides facing each other, and then we'll just sew it down. Afterwards, we are going to come down to the front, or before we do that, we are going to come down to the front. Now I've gone ahead to pin the front overlapping on each other. Now this is where I'm going to start from now to sew on mine. But then if you want yours to look more open, just like how hers was, you can always come down again so that it can end up giving you that particular effect. But apart from that, that is just what I did for mine. Now I'm just going to go ahead to attach the flare to the wrist, and then I will attach the shoulder to the armhole. Now that is what I just did. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and then close around the side seams, and then I will also go ahead to insert the collar. For the collar, this is how I'm going to be doing it. Now I am going to start from here to measure around, not from the beginning. So starting from here, I'm going to measure around the neckline, and I'm also going to stop at the exact same point on the other side of the neckline. So this is where I'm going to be stopping, and this is actually what I'm going to be using now to cut out the collar. Now in preparing the collar, I'm going to be using a band. Now I'm going to fold it over like this. Now this particular fabric, I'm going to be measuring it out, and it's supposed to be exact same measurements I had from the neckline. Then I'm going to add 1 inch seam allowance towards the side. Now that 1 inch seam allowance, now I'm going to be using 1/2 inch on either side to sew it down. So that's just the only reason why I added the 1 inch seam allowance. Now this should be 3 inches or 3.5 inches. Once that is done, I'm going to go ahead to sew down on either side. And this is me. I finished sewing down on either side, and actually cutting down that place so that it wouldn't be looking bulky once I turn it right side out. That's why I'm cutting these points out. So once you cut it out, please go ahead and then press it down. Iron this first before you continue the sewing. So I'm just going to go ahead to start from that point I told you that I showed earlier. So at this point, I'm going to place it right side facing each other. Then I'm going to sew it down, leaving out 1/2 inch on top. Now once I'm done, I'm going to fold it over like this, and I'm going to sew it down again so that the finishing can come out looking neat. So this is how it's looking like so far. The next thing to do is to go ahead and then close down the side seams and also hem the down part. Now let's move over to sewing the skirt. So for the skirt, I'm going to go ahead to pick the darts, both for the front and also for the back piece. Now this is me. After picking up the darts, we are going to try inserting the zip. So I'm going to be using a short zip for this, and also an invisible one at that. So I'm going to go ahead and then start doing this from this point here. So you're just going to measure out how long your how long your zip is. Then you're going to measure that out. Then with 1/2 inch towards the side, that's what I'm using. 1 inch towards the center back, that's what I'm using. I'm going to start from there, and then I'll start sewing down towards the end of the skirt. But then I'm not going to sew it towards the end completely. Reason being that I'm going to be having some openings here at the back, okay, so I can be able to walk freely in it. The next thing to do here is to go ahead and then close in the side seams. So I'm just going to place them right side facing each other. Then I'm going to be using the 1 inch I inserted by the side, either sides. Then I'm also going to go ahead to sew it down all the way to the end. Once that is done, I'm going to try to secure down the opening at the back so that once I try to open my legs, it wouldn't just tear. So that's what I'm trying to secure down now at the back of the skirt before I'll now go ahead to hem around the down part and also around that area too, so it can come out looking very neat. But then you can always use your normal serger machine. Just go ahead to overlock it or weave it before you can now go ahead to bend it. But since I don't have it, this is what I'm going to be doing for mine. So at this point now, I'm just going to fold it in 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, sorry, inwards, and then I'm just going to go ahead to sew it down. So from this point now, I'm just going to sew it all the way round towards the other side. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead to insert the waistband around the waist of the skirt. So I'm just going to go ahead to measure around here what I have here, and I'm going to go ahead to cut that out on a separate fabric. Now once I've cut it out, with me here, what I'm having here right now is 2.5 inches here. If I measure it out, this is 2.5 inch. Now I've already gone ahead to sew the first part down, which is the wrong side with, sorry, the right side of the band with the wrong side of the skirts. I placed them together and I sewed it down. Now I'm going to be folding it over in a double bending method like this on top of the right side of the skirt. Then I'm going to go ahead to start sewing it down. So once I'm done doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and then insert my zip, and with that the sewing is completed. So this is the final look of the whole thing. After that, I was able to have lights so I could iron later on. So this is the final look of it. So with this now, I went to work, so I had to just tuck it in. But without tucking it in, you'll see the shirt in its full form. You can even use it with trouser and it's to still come out looking very beautiful. So that is just it, and this is it. Please guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and also please like this video, share and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, bye guys.